Most interview processes fail for one simple reason: decisions are made from memory. A hiring manager remembers a strong joke the candidate cracked, another interviewer recalls a weird concern about energy, notes are scattered, subjective, and inconsistent. When you scale hiring, this becomes a disaster. You aren't comparing candidates fairly, you're comparing impressions. You're hiring based on what you remember from the interview and not based on skills. This is where teams in 2026 are using Claude Opus 4.5 not to automate the decision, never let AI make the final call, but to turn raw conversations into structured, reviewable signals that reflect reality. In this deep dive, we will build a complete interview intelligence workflow. We will cover concepts like PII redaction to rubric design, and finally, generating the scorecard. As always, welcome to Plivo. In 2026, privacy laws are stricter than ever. A transcript contains names, current employees, locations, and potentially protected class information. Before processing, we use a simple redaction pass. You can do this with a lightweight local script or by asking Claude to do it in a zero-retention enterprise environment. The goal is to turn John Doe from Google into candidate A from tech company B. This strips bias and protects data. Now we're ready to analyze. Part 2. What a skill card actually is. Stop using culture fit as a metric. It's lazy. A skill scorecard is a structured breakdown of how a candidate demonstrates specific competencies. But good communication is not a skill. That's a vibe. We need to define skills with behavioral precision. Instead of communication, use synthesizes complex technical concepts for non-technical stakeholders. The goal is not to label a candidate as good or bad, but to map evidence from the interview to each skill area. Claude Opus 4.5 is useful here because it allows for massive context windows, processing an hour-long transcript without forgetting the first 5 minutes. Part 3, the source data. Clean transcripts. Garbage in, garbage out applies here too. Your source data usually comes from Zoom, Google Meet, or specialized platforms. The key is verbatim, not summarized. Summaries kill nuance. A summary says candidate discussed SQL. A transcript captures the pause, the clarification, and the specific syntax they mentioned. Claude needs those pauses. It needs to know the back and forth to determine if the candidate actually knew the answer or if the interviewer led them to it. Part number 4, defining skills and the prompt. Now we move to prompt engineering. This happens outside the model first. Hiring teams must agree on 5 to 7 core skills. Let's look at a real example for a product manager role. Skill 1, problem solving. Definition, breaks down ambiguous problems into testable hypotheses. Skill 2, stakeholder management. Definition, navigates conflicting priorities between engineering and sales. Now we need to feed these definitions to Claude. This forces the model to ignore charisma and focus on evidence. Here's the prompt structure. Role, you're a bar-raising interviewer. Task, evaluate the transcript based on these specific skills. Constraint, do not infer traits not supported by text. If evidence is missing, state no evidence. That last part is critical. If the candidate didn't talk about it, the AI shouldn't guess. Part number 5, extracting evidence, the mining phase. This is where Claude shines. We ask Claude to extract evidence blocks. We don't want opinions yet, we want quotes. Quote, I realized the database shared was the bottleneck. So I paused the migration. Map to problem solving. This creates transparency. If a hiring manager asks, why do we rate them low on technical depth? You don't just say, I didn't feel it. You point to the transcript where they failed to explain the architecture. This shifts the debate from gut feeling to observable behavior. Part 6, generating the scorecard. Now we synthesize. We ask Claude to output a standardized format. A table is usually best. Column number 1, skill. Column number 2, summary of evidence. Column number 3, direct quotes. Column number 4, signal strength, strong, mixed, weak. Let's look at the prompt for this. Using the transcript, generate a skill scorecard, summarize evidence, reference specific parts, and assign a qualitative signal. Do not make hiring recommendations. Why no recommendations? Because AI doesn't know your team dynamics. It doesn't know you already have 5 idea guys and you need an executor. This is human judgment. Part 7, checking for bias, fluency versus competency. This is a pro tip for 2026. Large language models and humans have a fluency bias. They rate people who talk smoothly higher than people who talk correctly, but with broken grammar or heavy accents. So we run a specific red team prompt against the transcript. Prompt, analyze the candidate's answers for substance versus length. Flag instances where the candidate used too many words to say very little. Identify instances where the candidate was brief but technically accurate. This often reveals the charismatic B player, the person who interviews great but delivers nothing. Claude helps you see through the fluff. Part 8. Calibration and audit trails. In a debrief, interviewer A says strong hire. Interviewer B says no hire. Who is right? Usually the loudest person wins, but with Claude's scorecard, you can compare evidence. Interviewer A said they were strategic. Claude found zero evidence of strategic planning in the transcript. Did you hear something not recorded? This creates an audit trail. If a hiring decision is ever questioned legally or internally, you have documentation rooted in the transcript, not just a thumbs up emoji in Slack. Part 9. Identifying the gap, the meta-analyst. What if you interview 10 candidates and Claude marks weak signal for execution judgment on all of them? It's statistically unlikely that all 10 people are bad at execution. The problem is your interview. You aren't asking the right questions to surface that skill. You can ask Claude, analyze these 10 scorecards. Which skills lack sufficient evidence across the board? Suggest why. Claude might tell you, you're asking hypothetical questions. What would you do? Not behavioral questions. What did you do? Part number 10, generating better questions. This closes the loop. We take that insight and ask Claude to fix the interview guide. Prompt: generate interview questions to evaluate decision-making under constraints. Constraints: must be role relevant, must encourage concrete examples, must avoid leading language. Claude generates: tell me about a time you had to cut a feature to meet a deadline. How did you decide what to cut and how did you communicate it? Now you have questions that actually extract the evidence you were missing. Conclusion: the human in the loop. This workflow does not replace the human connection of an interview, it protects it. By offloading the note-taking and pattern matching to Claude Opus 4.5, you, the human, can focus on listening, digging deeper, and selling the vision of the company. This results in clearer decisions, faster reviews, and a hiring process that actually measures what you care about. If you want the full prompt templates for the evidence extractor and the red team bias checks, we've linked them in the description below. Subscribe to Plivo for more workflows that turn AI into your competitive advantage. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.